Okay. So I got the new camera, and I'm going to see how this plays on YouTube. YouTube has a lot of playback issues. I noticed that I can play stuff good on my cameras, and then when I upload it to YouTube, it's all just skipping. So we'll try to see if it works out. So we're going to go with City of Truth today. And this is a reply video to his Siyey Letre Stuck in Worker Thinking. First of all, this goes to one of those things where when people don't understand what you're saying or what your reasons for saying what you're saying, they, instead of asking, they push what they would be thinking upon you. All right, so first of all, worker thinking. Let's go with worker thinking. I go with path of least resistance. Okay, path of least resistance. Number one, I'm not talking about my personal stuff. I got 2 online businesses. I can't talk about business related stuff because 90% of the black guys don't understand what margins are. How am I going to talk? I tried that. Look, I've been talking business when I was Alpha Male Wisdom, popular YouTuber, 42,000 subscribers. Before there was an O'Shea, before there was a BGS, before there was a whoever else. You got to think about that. Before even O'Shea, I was talking business. I was talking self-improvement. My channel was popular. Ramil will tell you that. Mike V will tell you that. So it isn't like I can't talk it. What I realized is a lot of dudes don't even know what margins are. So it will take 30 minutes to educate people, to go into the details of what it is. It takes up so much time to give 90% of black guys that type of information. So I had to address them where they are, punching in the clock. That's how I had to address them. Because, see, here's the thing. If we're really trying to help dudes, we got to help the majority of dudes. So if the majority of dudes are homeless, I'm going to talk about the homeless. If the majority of dudes work at retail, I'm going to talk about retail. Because the whole point is to make sure the image of the black male is seen as a mental giant, not a physical guy like we are seeing now, but mental. So let's go into some things. Stuck in worker thinking. I mean, even my business, I still work, paying my employees, finding new employees. So I guess I don't know what he means by worker thinking. The one thing with City of Truth, he never really elaborates. And you're going to hear it in here. He says stuff, stops, doesn't give a full thought. It gets, but hopefully he'll work on it. Let's hear what he has to say.
Mr. Research, Siyey Letre.
I like the guy too.
It's the fact that, he talks a lot of politics, but he's not, he only, when it comes to black folks, he only wants to talk about the worker.
So I talk a lot of politics. From my perspective, see, this is one of those things where a lot of times guys don't understand why you're saying something. In politics, nobody respects any single person. Like, you can be an entrepreneur, but they don't respect entrepreneurs. They respect conglomerates. Conglomerates pay more. They pay the government back more. Entrepreneurs, it takes an entrepreneur sometimes 3 months to 3 years just to give the government back. I first got my LLC in 1997. You could do a lot of stuff back then. Wasn't even thinking about paying the government back nothing. But now they've hooked it up to where they're able to see more of what you do now. So it isn't about stuck in worker thinking. I got to talk to where the people are.
Okay, he never talks about the business owner. He just talks.
I can't talk about the business owner. Not enough dudes know about sales. Not enough dudes know about income sheets. Not enough dudes know about like I said, margins, which is really important. Not a bunch of dudes are really good at math. I mean, I've tried it before. And people are like, why do you think the Black Brain Trust doesn't have a lot of views? Because they're talking exactly that stuff. And what happens in these black male spaces, City of Truth don't want to realize this. Half of the panel, City of Truth is doing good. MOT is doing good. And I'm talking about the truck driving guys. Maybe 3 or 4 other guys are doing good. Most of the guys in the spaces, they're not doing nothing independent like that. I know some dudes who sought me out for counseling and they drive trucks for people. So they're punching in the crock. They fall into that worker category. So if I speak to the entrepreneurs, I'm speaking to a small crowd. I let other YouTubers do that.
Talks about the worker. And he talks about, he has this monolithic mindset.
Everybody's monolithic. Irish people do not separate themselves. They are all Irish and they all think alike. Ireland comes first. Scotland people, they don't care about England, and you a Scot, even if you're black Scottish. So the only people who don't think monolithic is the plantation slave. Other than that, and he was taught not to think monolithic. The slaves over in Russia, they're monolithic because they know their flag, they know their language. The slaves who grew up in England. So,
and y'all know I don't have that mindset. I don't believe in that.
Here's the funny thing. When City of Truth says he doesn't believe in it, that's fine. Don't ask the government for any loans. Don't ask the bank for any loans because the bank is using monolithic money to help you with that loan. The bank, the government is using monolithic taxes to help you with that SBA. See, that's the problem with the independent blacks. They're independent by convenience, but they keep relying on the family blacks, whether they realize it or not, so that they can pop their chest and say they did it all by themselves, when in actuality, they're using our money. Every time you have money in a bank, the whole purpose is to find people like City of Truth who wants to buy an additional truck. Well, that's why we get percentages back on our money, interest, because they're lending it out. So it's a lot of stuff that comes into that I think independent blacks don't realize. You're always getting help by the family or the group blacks.
Because I don't even think it's feasible in this day and age. Okay.
See, he don't think it's feasible, but part of what he do operates in it. When you driving these trucks, when you driving these trucks and you talking to the broker, a lot of those people are family businesses. They're not individual people who just opened up a laptop and start dispatching.
This monolithic mindset is something that people like Siyey Letre have come up with in their heads.
Monolithic is an age-old concept. Monolithic goes back to the Egypt wars. Monolithic is in a dictionary. So again, our cousin City of Truth is fighting against a theory just because he don't want to believe it. I mean, I don't get it. But
to justify certain things that have happened to them in their life, but
and that's what people always like to resort to. They like to resort that, well, this happened in your life, so this is why you think no, 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 no. Sometimes I've seen stuff happen to people. It hasn't even happened to me personally. I've seen stuff happen to people to form my opinions, or I've read history and the history kept repeating itself in other people's lives to help me form those opinions. It doesn't have to happen to me personally.
really doesn't. When you actually look at the facts, it really doesn't pan out. When it comes to immigrants, okay,
So this is why I said where he switches. He starts one line of thinking, and then he jumps over to something else. Because we was talking about monolithic just a second, and now he jumped over to immigrants.
reason immigrants appear to be monolithic.
Remember, immigrants go off of being tribal. They say we're all about tribes. But then City of Truth doesn't believe that. He said it appears. No, they're telling you. They're about tribes. That's monolithic.
Is because of geography. Okay, it has nothing to do with politics.
Geography. So, African living in Nigeria, African living in Germany, and an African living in England. If they're all Nigerian, it doesn't matter where they live. They're claiming to be Nigerian. They could be born here in America. Their parents are Nigerian. They're going to claim Nigerian when it's convenient for them. It has nothing to do with location. It is a mindset.
It has nothing to do with culture. It really has to do with geography.
So he says it has nothing to do with culture. It has to do with location. Okay. If that's what he believes.
Immigrants come to America, okay, oftentimes what happens is America will let a small amount of them come over at first.
A small amount. Biden said he's going to do 10 million off the top, and then he's going to do 1 million a year. That's small. Okay.
And then once that small amount becomes established, then they bring over, their relatives and other successive waves of people later. Those successive waves, they tend to all settle in the same area that the first group settled in, because the first group now has like a base or a foundation for them to at least go on.
That is true. So they'll come over and they'll set up a base, but it's mostly to carry out their religion. A lot of times people don't understand. Like, I have a Yemen store owner. Years ago, a Yemen guy came and bought over the laundromat. And right across the street from the laundromat, he immediately bought an empty building so he can put a mosque there. Now everybody comes. When you see that building, you don't think it's a mosque. It looks just like a regular building, but they've made it a spiritual oasis on the inside. But Actual Factual didn't quote any of that. If he did, he would know that it very much is cultural, but to each their own. Bringing over the family, a lot of them don't have to be established. They just come over and they satisfy that 3 years. Once they satisfy their 3 years, they're trying to bring somebody else. It doesn't matter if they're working at Taco Bell. Not in their minds.
Okay. So, when you're a new immigrant, you don't know the language of America, you don't know the culture of America.
You got to speak the language. They don't let you come over not speaking a language. Bush Jr. got rid of that. So you can't come over and not speak the language. America's not having that no more.
You don't have You don't know where to go to get a job. You have to go to your own people to get a job. And usually your own people are all clustered in that initial geographic area. So an example of this would be, New York City for Puerto Ricans, or, Minneapolis, St. Paul for, for Somalians. You know, what happens, is, or you could say like Central California, Bakersfield, Fresno for Indians, stuff like that. So what happens is they clump up geographically, okay, so they can have a support structure with each other. Now, if you're
They bundle up geographically so they can spiritually connect. A lot of it has to do with spiritualism.
an American in the middle of that geographic zone, it looks like, oh my God, these immigrants, they're so monolithic. They're so, they got it all figured out. They're so family.
I don't think he understands what monolithic is. Figured out and monolithic don't go together. Monolithic means that they're going to do what's best for their tribe and their culture, even if they disagree with it. They're going to vote together for their tribe and culture, even if they disagree. Just for example, if a bunch of them want to, a bunch of Saudi Arabian or Yemen guys want to pray at a building and they want to buy that building, and they forcing this lady out so they can acquire that building. Somebody comes up, they may feel like, oh, that's messed up, they forcing her out. But culturally, they're like, Allah be praised, because we get to have a place close to where we all have apartments or homes. That's all it is. They just don't get caught up in some of the things we get caught up in.
Oriented. Look at them. They're all working together. And in reality, what it is, they're all in one geographic location. Another good example of that would be Cubans in Miami. Cubans own a lot of real estate and stuff in Miami, okay? But they don't own much once you get outside of Miami. Miami is the only place where Cubans own a whole bunch of the real estate and a lot of the land. You go to Miami, Cubans run fucking Miami.
So this is one thing he's not really taking into consideration. These people are purposely choosing to group together. Purposely choosing to group together. But he doesn't consider that monolithic. He considers that happenstance, by accident. They didn't choose it. It's just how it ended up. Okay.
You would think Cubans are the most prosperous group in America if you go to Miami. But the real reason it appears that way is because they're all geographically concentrated in that one area.
Geographically concentrated. Did they choose to be around their own people? That would mean that they're not trying to be independent away from their people. But maybe not. Let's listen.
Okay. So to just a regular American who goes through there, it looks like, oh my God, they're so organized. Look at them.
I don't know why he keeps saying organized. I think he thinks organized and monolithic are the same thing.
They got it all figured out. They're sort of working together.
That's the same second time he said all figured out. What does that have to do with monolithic?
But it's only an illusion because they're all in one geographic area. Okay, as generations go on, they'll move further and further out. They'll start marrying other groups of people, intermingling with other groups of people. The children will start going to school in other regions of the country, and they'll develop other ideologies and stuff. And then they will become what's called assimilated into the larger American.
So he believes that they ultimately will be assimilated into. I guess I don't know who's doing that other than black Africans, Caribbeans. I don't see Arabians doing that. I don't see Russians doing that. I just don't see this multitude of people outside of people with melanated skin doing that type of stuff. But I could be wrong.
And culture. That's what happens. Okay, so African Americans don't have the luxury to basically recreate that because we're geographically dispersed. Okay, now
You know what? I would really like to know why he would say that we're geographically dispersed, but the people he mentioned are not geographically dispersed. That's kind of confusing on how he gets to that reasoning, because he never goes into specific for his theories. He just says them. Superman has an orange cape. Superman wears pink. Can you point me to the video that you're talking about? See, sometimes he just makes statements, and it's like, I don't know where he got that from, but good. He's a good dude.
mind you, Black Americans are starting to move more and more and concentrate more and more in the South. So maybe in the future, going forward, maybe African Americans can hopefully they can reestablish more of their own communities and stuff like that in the South. But you need to understand it requires geographic centralization. Okay, you can't expect a bunch of black folks working in a warehouse, okay, in California somewhere, you know, in fucking French Camp or fucking Sacramento, or, you know, I know that Northern Cali area. You know, I'm a trucker. I go through there all the damn time on I-80. Okay, and you know, and so I'm aware of that area, but it makes no sense for black folks in that area to talk about, hey, we're gonna all band together on this one job and take over this warehouse. It doesn't make sense.
Why would that not make sense? I don't get. See, I think he obviously enjoys what he does. Okay, but I think he wants. I think his vision is everybody only focus on self. I think that's what he's leaning toward. But I'm not going to speak on it. I'm just going to listen.
Okay, right to work laws, they will fire you the fuck up out of there before you can blink your eye. Okay? All right? So you're not going to be monolithic on these jobs. What you have to do is you got to realize, okay, maybe I can buy the warehouse. Maybe we can put money together.
Didn't he just say? I just said take over the. Now he's contradicting himself, but okay.
Form an LLC to buy this warehouse.
He's saying the same thing I'm saying now. But it's not an LLC. You would do that as a conglomerate.
Maybe we can just get the warehouse and just lease it out to other companies and stuff.
He's saying the same type of stuff that I'm saying. So I don't know where he disagrees. This is almost over with.
Who need this warehouse? You have to think like that. Okay, that's how you think to move forward in the 21st century. You know what I mean? But that's what I got to say on this. Let me know what y'all think. Get the likes up.